Welcome back to Today in Atlanta Sports. Alex, we had a huge press conference just minutes ago with us recording this, and Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith met with the media for the first time since the Deshaun Watson fiasco and the Matt Ryan trade. And let's just say the answers weren't exactly inspiring. It's kind of funny when they first came on as general manager and coach, when you heard him speak, you were like, oh man, this is great. Like they just seem like they know what they're doing, like blah, blah, blah. Well, that coach speak and stuff is getting real tiresome when you're actually looking for legitimate answers here, which I think the fans and the media and everyone deserves in a scenario like this. I mean, you just traded away you're arguably the best player in franchise history. The Deshaun Watson saga, whether you agree, on the sexual assault side of things, whether the Falcons should have been able to go after him, those questions deserve to be answered. They don't deserve to be glossed over and act like it never happened. And I think that's really what they gave us. They gave us a bunch of PC stuff. They even gave us some disconcerting things when it comes to Matt Ryan, the trade thing. Basically, they had better offers, but they wanted to do right by Matt. I get that to a degree, but no. Like we're not in the position to where we can just be giving away extra picks or, better picks just to do right by our franchise players. So very disconcerting stuff. And then just a lot of nothing is what I came away with.
Yeah. One important thing is they confirmed there was a no trade clause. There wasn't a no trade clause in Matt Ryan's contract. So they could have traded him anywhere if they wanted to. For anything,
which is big.
Another important thing is they pretty much just downplayed their entire pursuit of Deshaun Watson, making it seem like they weren't very interested when, in fact, we know that is not correct. And there are reports that Atlanta thought that they had him. Deshaun thought he was going to Atlanta. And then, in the wee hours of the night, Cleveland came in with $230 million guaranteed. So it's pretty discouraging to see them. It's not like they're cowarding away. I'm not saying that, but it seems like they're just, take the thrashing from the media right here, right now, and then just be done with it. Say, yeah, we were, it's kind of like that old saying where instead of asking for permission, ask for forgiveness. And that's what they should have just done. It's, we saw a play, we tried to make it, we didn't make it. And now we had to trade Matt Ryan, because then they went off and started talking about how they were they made it seem like they weren't interested in Deshaun. And then they were also the good guys for, getting Matt Ryan to a good situation. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You were very interested in Deshaun. And then this Matt Ryan thing came up. Hell, they had the contract restructure paperwork written up. All they had to do was submit it. So, the plan they say was always to trade Matt Ryan, or they were exploring it the entire offseason, is just categorically false.
It's a lie. I mean, it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a bona fide lie. I mean, listen, we all know what happened. They were planning to move on and compete as much as they could with Matt Ryan. They had the restructure in place. All these reports have been verified by several inside sources that aren't just lying, like the Falcons are in this situation. Deshaun Watson showed interest. They said, maybe we can make this work. They went hard after it. Cleveland, kicked their ass at the negotiating table because they offered him a ridiculous deal that the Falcons shouldn't have offered, but that's just the way it happened. The Cleveland won that whole fiasco. And then they pivoted to Matt Ryan and said, I don't know if this is going to work either. And then they traded him for a shitty third-round pick. The whole thing was a mess. But, yeah, I mean, it just seemed like they didn't want to take any responsibility for that. Another takeaway that I just absolutely hate, that I've really gotten tired of, is them unwilling to say, hey, we're rebuilding. Like, bro, we all know we're rebuilding. Like, just say it. Like, you're not, like, doing harm to the players that signed here. Listen, the players that signed here, they knew we were rebuilding, whether we traded Matt Ryan or not. This team was rebuilding this year. This team was not competing for a Super Bowl. And that doesn't mean don't go out there and try to win. I mean, Arthur Smith, if he goes out there and goes 1-16, like, his job's going to be on the line next year. And I don't think that's really fair, because this roster should be, a 2 or 3 win team, but his job's going to be on the line. A lot of these guys in the NFL, if they play bad, they're out of the league. They lose out on millions of dollars. Nobody's saying go out there and tank, but don't lie to my face or say, like, oh, I'm afraid to say the word rebuild. Bro, why? Why? That doesn't mean we're not trying to win games. That doesn't mean you're not trying to put a decent roster out there trying to win games. It doesn't mean you're not going to use the rest of your money to create the most competitive roster possible. But don't sit here and tell me we're not rebuilding, and stop, like, acting like, these guys need like a pat on the back to be like, hey, we're not rebuilding. Go out there and try your best. Like, it's just so stupid. It's like these guys are 12 years old. Like, they knew the deal when they signed here. They know the deal now. Like, let's just be honest with everyone here. It's like, oh, I don't want to use the word rebuild. It's just so stupid.
Yeah, that was one of the most bothersome parts of the press conference was they literally referenced, like, we don't like that word. We prefer the word transition. I mean, first, I'm 100% behind the whole, you got to build a culture. And it starts with, thinking and winning of every little thing, meetings, workouts, walkthroughs, everything is just about winning. And that's how, the Buffalo Bills are where they at today is because they instilled that culture.
Agreed.
But, just because you say we're rebuilding, that doesn't mean, hey, it's okay to lose. Yeah. It's not okay to lose. It's never okay to lose. But have a bit, just an ounce of self-reflection and just say, hey, we're not in this spot, but you'll be kidding yourself if we're not going to go out there and kick your ass for 60 minutes. We're going to try our damn hardest. Yeah. It's like you can have both of them. You're just using the word transition. What do you think? These guys are idiots?
Well, I'm the guy who literally gets on fans for rooting for the Falcons to lose. Like, I think fans should never be rooting for your team to lose. Like, no, I want to win the damn game. Not just when we're playing rivals. Like, every time I watch the Falcons play, I don't care how shit the roster is. I want them to win the game. Like, I'm a fan. Like, I'm cheering for the team. I'm cheering for the guys on the team that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and I want them to win. They're doing it for the city. I want them to win every game. At the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say the Falcons are Super Bowl contenders. Like, I don't have to do – like, it's that simple. Just say that. Like, just say, hey, we're in a transitioning period. We're going to try to get our quarterback maybe in this year's draft and try to win games. But, like, let's be real with what's going on here. And I just don't understand the point of, like you're going to hurt these guys' feelings or you're selling them something they didn't already know. Like, bro, like, no one looked at the Falcons roster and said, ooh, we're going to compete for a championship this year. Like, it's just a stupid, stupid thought. Even people that might have thought, like, let's say Casey Hayward thought that Deshaun Watson was coming. Bro, Deshaun Watson's going to be suspended for 8 games. Whoever Deshaun Watson went to wasn't competing this season. Like, there's just no reason that you didn't sell any of these guys' lies. Younghoe Koo didn't think, oh, man, like,
I'm going to re-sign with the Falcons because we're
win a Super Bowl. Like, it just so, yeah. I just think it's very like you can't tell a 12-year-old that Santa Claus isn't real kind of thing. Like, it's just like it's ridiculous. But I mean, that shouldn't be the most discriminatory. I think just the whole thing. It's really, and maybe it's just the fact that things are kind of these like coach speak is just getting stale. Like, at the end of the Dan Quinn era, like, I was tired of hearing his stupid ass mottos, like, and this stupid ass like embrace the suck and all that just got old. And I'm telling you right now, this stuff is getting old really quick. Like, first of all, I think the Falcons fans deserve better answers for everything that transpired. I understand that the front office can't tell you everything, but there are situations where you, like, I mean, Alex Anthopoulos, I think, has done a great job at informing people or people like the fans, of what's going on without giving away too much. I think he's walked that line perfectly. Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith are giving us nothing. And they've just decided, hey, the fans don't need to know anything. They're not owed anything. And when you're screwing over the franchise like they have so far, you can't just do that. Now, if the Falcons start winning games, that you're allowed to be pulled a Bill Belichick, because you're winning championships, you're winning games. You don't have to say shit. But when you're not doing the right things, when you've made a whole mess of your first 2 years of the regime, you owe some people some answers. And I was disappointed that we got absolutely nothing out of this press conference, essentially.
Yeah, and I got the vibes watching it, not in person. I was watching it through the site, but it felt like there was zero preparation that went into this press conference. This was the biggest press conference of their tenure in Atlanta outside of the very first one, I think. And this one might rival that. You just traded away Matt Ryan. You knew you were going to have to answer Deshaun Watson questions. And they went up there and they were just, it was like they were unprepared. It was like they were coming up with answers on the fly, or basically lies. They were coming up with lies on the fly. Like they looked like 13-year-olds up there thinking, it's like, yeah, dude, you run a professional football team. Just, it seems like they gave some of the answers the PR team gave them, and then some they were like, oh, what do I say? What do I do? The entire thing was discouraging. What I will say, one positive light and we're still going to bash them for it, is at least they did right by Matt Ryan, because we now know they could have traded him for probably more to a worse team.
Yeah.
And they chose not to, but you're still going to get backlash from part of the fan base because you're like, you only got a 3rd round pick for Matt Ryan. I mean, Carson Wentz just netted them a 3rd and 1st round pick, the Eagles. So, what are we doing here? This isn't a time to play nice guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not the time to play nice guy. And listen, like we said, when we were talking about the situation before the press conference, everything's stripped bare. We think Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones should be traded. I mean, just rip the whole Band-Aid off. Let's get as much as we can, completely rebuild, and you give these guys a second chance. But it's going to be it's going to be a short lease, if you ask me, for both of them. They're going to have some very, very good drafts very quickly. They're going to have to find their quarterback of the future very quickly, or they're going to be out of here. But before this thing even really got started, which if you had told me that a year ago, I would have been like, hell no, But it's been an ugly first year for them. And,
Fontenot confirmed that they will add to the quarterback room. Now, there's only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, so that really could mean anything. It could just mean a veteran backup
for 2 years.
Or it could be, it could be a guy at number 8. They did say they won't be reaching in the draft, which makes me think that will not. So quarterback at 8 is out of the question. None of these guys are, highly rated, in my opinion.
No, but if you like one of them, I don't think you're reaching. And we've talked about this. I think we're both on the same page, especially when you need a quarterback. If you really like one of these guys, I do think that's what's going to end up happening. Whether they like one of these guys, I have no idea. Personally, I look at Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis, to me, is kind of the perfect kind of prospect for the Falcons. I don't know if you could trade back and get him, but if he's there at 8, I wouldn't blame him taking him, just simply because he seems like a guy who's got this super, super high upside and kind of like a floor of just absolute bust, which, like, if you're the Falcons and you might have another shot at this next year, why not take a shot on a guy like Malik Willis, who could potentially be one of these next great quarterbacks, like a Josh Allen or something like that? So that's kind of what intrigues me about Malik Willis, because there's that such boom or bust potential. Like, I don't really think there's an in-between with him. He's going to be, just I won't even say Jameis Winston, because that is kind of in between. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got that elite potential, or he could just completely bust out. And I think, if he completely busts out and the Falcons are having one of the worst teams, they're doing the same thing next year, you get 2 shots at it. So I do kind of like the idea of getting Malik Willis. We'll see if that's something the brass isn't interested in.
Yeah, they've been pretty adamant about taking the best player overall. And I think that'll really tell us if they're committed to that, taking a quarterback at 8, because don't kid yourself. You're right on. If you think he's your guy and he's your 15th highest rated prospect overall, and you take him at 8, that's a reach technically, but for a quarterback, it's not as tough of a pill to swallow, because he could be your franchise guy. It's the most important position in sports. But if they're going to stick to that BPA philosophy, I would be shocked if they took a quarterback there then.
Yeah, without a doubt. But that's another conversation for another day. Right now, we're still left here hanging with about as many answers as we did before the press conference. I think very discouraging stuff from the front office. But hey, listen, their term is going to be defined by the next 2 years. And if they don't get it fixed up, you can expect a new regime in here faster than we ever could have imagined.